Ever walked away from an argument thinking, why did I just waste 40 minutes trying to explain basic logic to a grown adult who thinks shouting louder makes them right? Yeah, same. We've all been there, stuck in a conversation that feels less like a dialogue and more like a verbal tug of war, with someone who isn't looking for understanding, just ammunition. These people don't want resolution. They're not interested in truth. They just want to win. And you? You're the unwilling participant in their emotional dodgeball match. Here's the hard truth. Arguing with people like this is like trying to dry off while standing in the rain. The longer you stay, the wetter you get. The Stoics had a way of putting it, blunt but beautiful. Time is the most valuable thing we can spend. So why waste it on people who treat conversations like combat? So tell me in the comments which of these signs have you been seeing in your life, and if you're ready to step into your best self, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notifications, because trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Your future is waiting. Now go claim it. Alright, let's get into it. In this video, we're breaking down exactly how these people operate, and why silence might be your sharpest weapon. We'll explore how the Stoics dealt with fools, spoiler, they didn't, and how you can reclaim your peace, energy, and sanity by doing one powerful thing, walking away. If you're exhausted from yelling into emotional tornadoes and ready to reclaim your calm, stick around. And before we dive in, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's get into the quiet, powerful art of not giving them what they want. Part 1. They don't listen, they load up. Let's start with one of the most draining human experiences, trying to reason with someone who doesn't actually want to understand you. Not because they're confused, not because they're having a rough day, but because understanding was never the goal. You can sense it instantly. You speak from reason, maybe even vulnerability, and they twist your words, cut you off, and crank up the volume like that somehow makes them more right. But here's the thing, they're not revealing truth. They're revealing themselves. They're not looking for truth. They're looking for victory. And the moment you realize that, you also realize you're not in a conversation. You're in a contest, one you never agreed to. I used to waste hours, even days, in these pointless verbal sparring matches. One person comes to mind. I'll call him Steve, a family friend. Every time we talked, no matter the topic, politics, personal choices, even how I made my coffee, he always had to be right. One day, after yet another tense exchange about something completely irrelevant, it finally hit me. He wasn't listening to me. He was listening for ammunition, for an opportunity to score a point. And when I walked away, I didn't just feel annoyed, I felt drained, like my energy had been siphoned off, like I had to shrink a little just to stand in that conversation. That's when I realized this wasn't a discussion. This was theft of my time, my peace, my focus. And that's where Stoicism, in all its quiet power, stepped in like a wise old friend and whispered, "You don't have to play this game." Zeno once said, "Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue." And I finally understood it, because when you argue with someone who has no intention of understanding, you don't just risk your words, you risk your composure. You chip away at your own stability, trying to justify yourself to someone who decided long ago that you're wrong, no matter what you say. The Stoic way isn't passive, it's purposeful. It's knowing when a conversation has stopped being a dialogue and turned into a performance. It's having the strength to walk away, not in defeat, but in dignity. Your peace of mind is too precious to be sacrificed on the altar of someone else's ego. So the next time you find yourself in a conversation that feels more like a battleground, ask yourself, is this person seeking clarity or control? If it's the latter, step back, not because you're weak, but because you're wise, because silence, when rooted in self-respect, is louder than any argument you'll ever win. This is where Stoicism draws a clear and powerful line. The Stoics understood something we often forget in the heat of a frustrating conversation. Truth doesn't need to be shouted, and it certainly doesn't need to be defended to someone who is committed to misunderstanding it. Plato once said, "A wise man speaks because he has something to say, a fool because he has to say something." That timeless insight reminds us that silence, when chosen with intention, is not weakness, it's strength. So when someone twists your words, your most powerful response isn't to shout louder or explain harder, it's to not engage at all, not out of fear, but out of clarity. You're not there to win a rigged game, you're there to protect your peace. Stoic wisdom reminds us, if someone is determined to misinterpret you, it's not your duty to correct them. It's your responsibility to walk away with your dignity intact. The truth doesn't beg to be believed, and it never has to wrestle in the mud to prove itself. Let your silence speak when words would only be wasted. Part 3. They argue from emotion, not reason. Now let's talk about one of the most manipulative and mentally exhausting tactics people use when logic isn't on their side. Emotional argument. You've seen it. The moment the facts don't support them, they pivot. It's no longer about what's true, it's about how offended they are. They raise their voice. They dramatize small issues. They shift blame. They play the victim. Not number 4, they refuse to admit when they're wrong. There's a term in psychology for the discomfort people feel when reality contradicts their beliefs. It's called cognitive dissonance. But you don't need a textbook to recognize it. You've seen it in real life, maybe too often. People clinging to their pride like a lifeline, even when the truth is staring them in the face. They twist the facts. They shift the blame. They do everything but say those 3 simple words, "I was wrong." But here's the truth. It's not just stubbornness. It's a defense mechanism. For some, admitting a mistake feels like surrendering power, like shrinking in front of others. But in reality, owning your mistakes is the mark of strength, not weakness. As long as they're fighting the truth, they're not protecting their pride, they're exposing their fear. Because pride doesn't protect growth, it prevents it. When someone refuses to admit they were wrong, the conversation stalls. The potential for understanding, learning, or connection vanishes. You're not having a dialogue. You're facing a dead end. It's like standing in front of a locked door while holding the key, only to be told the door isn't locked at all. They push, they pull, they argue. But they won't let you unlock it, not because the key doesn't work, but because they can't admit they need it. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes essential. Epictetus once said, "It is impossible to learn what one thinks they already know." The moment someone sees themselves as always right, they shut the door on growth. The Stoic doesn't argue with denial. They don't force understanding where it won't grow. They choose clarity over conflict. You don't need to prove your point over and over to validate it. Say it once, clearly, calmly, then let go. Their refusal to change isn't your failure, it's their limitation. Your responsibility is your peace, your progress, your path forward. And while they're stuck behind that locked door, you've already stepped through yours. Number 5, they keep moving the goalposts. Now let's talk about one of the most exhausting games people play, moving the goalposts. At first, it seems like a real conversation. You provide a thoughtful answer. You back it up with evidence. But instead of engaging with what you said, they shift the topic, redefine the terms, introduce a brand new issue that was never part of the original discussion. Suddenly, it's not about what you were talking about, it's about something else entirely. This isn't a search for truth, it's a tactic. Their goal isn't clarity, it's control. You feel like you're chasing a finish line they keep dragging further away. The more grounded your argument, the more they distort the game. You're not moving toward resolution, you're running in circles, and that's the trick. They want to wear you down, to make you question yourself, to keep you off balance until you give up, not because they're right, but because you're tired. It's like chasing a shadow. No matter how fast you run, you never catch it, because they're not holding a conversation. They're staging a contest they never intend to end. Here's where Stoicism becomes your compass. The Stoics teach that clarity isn't found in chaos, it's preserved in restraint. When you recognize that someone is shifting the rules to keep control, you don't argue harder, you step back. You don't need to play a rigged game to prove your point. You simply stop playing. Because when someone keeps changing the question, they're not interested in the answer. And when they're not seeking truth, you don't owe them your time. The Stoic response: calm, clarity, exit, protect your energy, guard your peace, and never chase a conversation that keeps moving the finish line. Number 6. You don't need to chase the shifting game. Seneca once said, "The wise man is not swayed by the opinions of fools." That isn't arrogance, it's clarity. A wise person doesn't keep sprinting after moving targets. They don't exhaust themselves trying to prove something to people who've already decided they won't understand. Because Stoicism teaches this simple truth: peace of mind is more precious than winning arguments designed to go nowhere. You don't prove your strength by staying in a rigged game. You prove it by knowing when to walk away. And the most powerful response isn't more evidence, more counterpoints, or another round of explaining. It's awareness. Awareness that what you're in isn't a dialogue. It's a trap, a maze designed to confuse, not to resolve. And when you find yourself wandering that maze, the answer isn't to solve it, it's to leave it. Not out of anger, not out of defeat, but out of strength. Because your time, your energy, and your focus are sacred, too valuable to waste on arguments that are nothing more than emotional treadmills. Endless motion, no direction. The truth doesn't chase approval. It doesn't beg to be seen, it simply is. And it only needs to be known by you. So the next time someone keeps shifting the rules, moving the target, or twisting the terrain, remember, you don't need to keep up. You only need to step out. And that's not losing, that's choosing. Choosing clarity over chaos, dignity over drama, and peace over performance. When someone attacks you instead of your argument, it's a clear sign they've lost the debate. Unable to win with facts, they turn to personal insults, questioning your character or intelligence. This is a tactic used to make you react emotionally and shift the focus from the idea to your ego. The moment you engage, the conversation turns into a battle of egos, not logic. Stay calm and avoid defending yourself. This only feeds into their game. This is what Stoicism teaches us. Sometimes the best response to anger is silence. By refusing to engage in personal attacks, you show that your self-worth is not up for debate. Their insults are just noise in the wind. Similarly, some people argue just to waste your time. They don't seek understanding, only chaos. They twist your words, bring up irrelevant points, and keep you running in circles. Recognize this trap and don't waste your energy. Time is precious, and engaging with someone who only wants to argue for the sake of arguing is like giving them control over your time. So next time you're caught in a pointless argument, walk away. Preserve your time, your peace, and your direction. Not every argument is worth your energy. Don't get pulled into someone else's chaos. Stay focused on your purpose, not their noise. If this resonates with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update.